All right, so Oklahoma fans, I definitely know that you guys definitely feel disappointed and definitely pissed off. And I would be pissed off too if I was an Oklahoma fan because they didn't even move up a slot. They just stayed there at the eighth slot, which I think is kind of disrespectful at this point. Last week I can understand because Oklahoma again they've struggled. Let's be honest, Oklahoma has struggled this year, but this is typically not a year where there's like two or three dominant college football teams. There's really one so far, and that's the Georgia Bulldogs. My Alabama Crimson Tide struggled with three teams. They struggled with Florida. They lost on the road to at Kyle Field against Texas A&M, and then of course the LSU game, which we barely won 20-14. We literally barely won that game 20-14, and that is a depleted LSU football team that's full of second and third string players. So I understand, from an Oklahoma Sooner fan perspective, why these guys be pissed off. Now, granted, they didn't play, so the College Football Playoff Committee, I can kind of understand from their point of saying, well, if you didn't play, we're not going to move you up for not playing a game. We need to see how you guys do against better competition, which again, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Baylor, those teams are going to be coming up quickly on their schedule. So, I mean, for the most part, if Oklahoma goes undefeated, they're going to be in the College Football Playoff Committee. They're going to be in there. I am not worried at all that Oklahoma, if they don't go undefeated, that they're going to be eliminated. That's not happening. This is not a Wake Forest situation. Oklahoma has three teams that are going to be in the top 25. Baylor is in the top 25. Iowa State, I think if they continue to win, they'll eventually kind of jump up inside of the top 25. And then Oklahoma State is a top. I believe that they're 11th right now in the college football playoff rankings. So Oklahoma has a lot of opportunities to get inside of the top 10. So if I'm a fan of Oklahoma, wouldn't be too worried about it. But I am a little pissed off that if you're an Oklahoma fan, that they even move up a slot to eighth. Michigan moving up a slot a little bit there. Michigan State staying at seventh is a little bit of a shocker. I'm gonna be honest with you. Even though Michigan State did lose to Purdue, they do have the head-to-head victory over Michigan. So I'm a little bit confused of why Michigan still has a slot. Why Michigan again, they won their game. We understand it. But you did the same thing with Oregon and Ohio State, right? Oregon was ahead of Ohio State. They still are ahead of Ohio State because Oregon has the head-to-head victory. But they do have a loss in their schedule. Ohio State has a loss in their schedule. Even though Michigan State lost to Purdue, Purdue is a good football team. They are probably the best 6-3 team in the country. It's a team that has a really good track record of beating top caliber football teams. So I'm a little bit of, I don't know. Even though Michigan State lost, I think that they could have been slotted back maybe 3 slots, probably to the slot where Michigan is right now. Not at 7th, right behind Michigan. That just doesn't kind of make sense to me at all. And again, Michigan has the head-to-head victory there. Cincinnati being pushed to 5th. I know Cincinnati fans are going to be pissed off because, listen, we're undefeated. What does it take? Why does Ohio State jump us? We're undefeated. We got the second best win in college football against Notre Dame. Listen, Cincinnati, they did move up to 5th. They could have stayed there at 6th because their victory was disappointing, right? They won the game, but they barely won against Tulsa. It was literally damn near almost a last-second victory. If the running back never would have fumbled the ball. Of course, you got to consider the 2-point conversion as well if they would have got that. But still, it was a very disappointing effort, especially when you thought that maybe these players in this football team could be motivated based off of the committee kind of disrespecting them. We all thought that Cincinnati was going to blow out Tulsa. And ended up being a struggle win. So I honestly thought that they were going to stay at 6, but they moved up to 5th. And I think that it's a sign that the committee is starting to kind of value Cincinnati's undefeated record. Again, the more that Notre Dame wins, the more it's going to help Cincinnati's track record. Now, if SMU and Houston can continue to win, I think sooner or later those teams will get inside the top 25. I know UTSA finally cracked the top 25, and they're undefeated. But they need Houston and SMU. They need those teams to continue to win football games. Of course, Cincinnati, their next toughest opponent is going to be SMU, and they might play Houston in the American Conference Championship. We'll see if either one of those two teams can crack the top 25. Maybe Houston can do that. But the most important thing is Notre Dame. If Notre Dame continues to win, it's going to help Cincinnati's case even more because of Notre Dame. They're climbing. They're climbing the rankings right now. And if Notre Dame can maybe get inside that top 7, maybe get inside the top 6 by the end of the season, Cincinnati, you have a legitimate case of them going into the top 4 with that huge victory over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But Cincinnati needs to continue to win, and these style points need to matter, damn it. It needs to matter. They have to start blowing out these football teams. They cannot continue to struggle against the Tulsas and the Navies of the world. It's only going to hurt their case. Now, with Ohio State, they do have a loss in their schedule. Cincinnati does need some help with some of these teams, right? They need some chaos to erupt. They need potentially a 2-loss champion. I don't know if that's going to happen to Oklahoma. I don't know if that's going to potentially happen to maybe Ohio State, a Michigan, or Michigan State. But it is possible. I mean, Purdue plays Ohio State again. Now, if this was on the road at Purdue Stadium, maybe Ohio State can get upset. But the fact that it's going to be at Columbus, I don't think, it's going to be a repetition. I think it's going to be a competitive football game. I don't know if it's going to be a repetition of what we saw Ohio State do. What we saw Purdue do to Michigan State. I don't think that's potentially going to happen again. I think Ohio State's going to get the victory. But overall wise, Cincinnati does need help. They moved up a slot, but they might honestly that placement might just be stagnant I'm not going to lie to you, for the rest of the season. I mean, we'll find out eventually, but I will say this, the fact that the committee actually moved them up a slot, I think that is a positive sign that maybe the committee is starting to respect Cincinnati there. Obviously, fans are going to be pissed off with Alabama being at number 2. That's the one thing. I'm even shocked by that because I honestly thought that they were going to slot Alabama back. But Alabama's schedule, I mean, hey, again, as people call it a cupcake schedule, but Auburn is still ranked. Ole Miss is ranked inside the top 15. A&M has moved up to 11th. A lot of people made fun of Alabama for losing to an unranked football team. Well, guess what? That unranked school is now 11th in the country. And the more and more A&M continues to win, the chances of them not just cracking the top 10, but potentially cracking inside of the top 8, within the top 8, that is huge. And that is going to be a huge case for the University of Alabama. Now, again, it can also go against Bama, because if Bama loses one more game, especially in the regular season, A&M is going to take control of the division, and it will be Georgia versus A&M for the SEC West crown, not Alabama. So Alabama's got to stay on their toes, because a 20-14 struggle win is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable there. But obviously the controversy is going to be 2, 3, and 4, with Oregon moving up to number 3 and Ohio State jumping ahead and going all the way to the 4th slot there over Cincinnati. But anyway, guys, that's all I kind of got for you guys, at least for today. Let me know what you guys feel about these rankings. Is it fair? Is it more fair than compared was to last week? Or do you feel like some teams like Oklahoma, Cincinnati got screwed? Maybe it's Alabama bias being at number 2. Let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments. We could definitely talk about that below. So anyway, guys, Jan Sports, aka Jan716. Have a good night. Peace.